Greetings, my motherfucking bitches. This is LL3's News Podcast. My name is Craig, transmitting from the beautiful swampy mangroves of South Florida. And today's date is Saturday, February 17th, 2018. And I was just informed last night that Revolution Live is going to be doing a benefit show on the 23rd, a Friday. It's for the Stoneman shooting. So the goal would be great. I haven't got all the details, but I should go on Revolution Live website and take it from there. I will post this information as soon as possible. I'm just hanging out right now. Just some print-ups down in the lobby at the library. So, all right. I'm going to do a couple of things, nothing pertaining to what happened, but it's more into a bigger picture here. And this one here came from Jason G. Hornberger from the Future of Freedom Foundation, which is FFF.org. And this one's entitled Massacres Here and Abroad. And as it reads here, this came out yesterday too. It says here, with mass shootings comes calls for gun control, it becomes a predictable response. Never mind that there was gun control at the site of the latest massacre at that public school in Florida. It's against the law to carry an AR-15 onto public schools in Florida. That's gun control measure. It aims to prevent killings at public schools. At the risk of belaboring, obviously didn't work. That's because the shooter chose to violate it. And I did a show on it yesterday, and I did post the Florida statues on that, on the Florida Stoneman shooting. So please check it out. It's all right there. If I'm correct, it's Florida statute 790.06 subsection 12A verse 10. All right, just verify it and read it for yourselves, please. The gun control crowd exclaims, but if he would just expand gun control to encompass not just the school, but also the city, county, state, and nation, there will be no more such killings. Well, with all due respect on this horrific event, all these little laws doesn't guarantee anything. Any questions? Look what happened with Rwanda, where firearms were completely banned and roughly 800,000 people, maybe more, were slaughtered by the government, tyrannical governments, and their cronies. In the 100-day genocide, they call it 100-day genocide, massacre, and all that. Look up the Holocaust in Rwanda, all right? Big problem. If the shooters are willing to violate gun control on public school campuses, they wouldn't. Then why wouldn't they do the same with gun control law covering a wider geographic area? The gun control crowd responds, well, if we could just wipe out all AR-15s in the country, the shooters wouldn't be able to use them to kill people. Just look at North Korea, where everyone is disarmed and where there are no mass shootings. Good luck with that, especially given millions of guns owned by Americans and others around the world. Have you seen the results of the federal government's decade-long drug war? Apply those results to a war on guns. A North Korean-type gun control measure will produce another violent black market on which killers will be able to purchase legal guns to use against everyone else who is complying with the law. Equally important, disarming the citizenry would leave Americans vulnerable to the same type of tyrannical regime that North Korea has, for that matter, like tyrannical regime that the Pentagon and the CIA have installed into power, like in Chile, Egypt, Iran, Guatemala, Iraq, and Afghanistan. So does that mean nothing can be done to prevent these mass killings? No, that's not what it means. Or something can be done. It is just that all too many Americans are just not ready to embrace the solution. One thing can be done is to separate school and state, including repealing the school compulsory attendance laws. Public shootings has become such a permanent part of American life that no one notes something important about the victims of this week's shooting. They were all forced by law to be there in a mandatory gun-free zone. If they don't show up to the state schools, their parents go to jail. Most kids adjust to coercive apparatus of public schooling. They become submissive and passive, much like draftees in the army. But public school coercion is not a natural phenomenon. It is a state-initiated one. There are some kids that just don't respond well to coercion. It screws them up, it angers them, it fills them with rage, like it may well have done with the latest mass killer. Thus, the second best thing that Americans could ever do is to end this horrific abusive system that is based on state violence. Coercion and education are opposites. Public, i.e. government, schooling doesn't educate. It indoctrinates and converts children into passive, submissive, compliant, obedient, regiment citizens. Ones who, when they become adults, don't dare to question authority, especially with respect to the mass killings that their government commits in foreign countries. And it screws up the minds of others. The best thing Americans could ever do to end killing sprees here is to end the U.S. government's killing spree abroad. Just stop them by immediately bringing all U.S. forces and CIA agents home. Sure, everyone cares about those 17 students who were killed this week. I mean, everyone here in the United States cares. But who cares about the hundreds of thousands of Iraqi children who were killed by the U.S. sanctions during the 1990s? Yes, I'm looking at the page here. Who cares that the U.S. ambassador to the United Nations declared that the deaths of 500,000 Iraqi children from the sanctions were worth it? That's a question. That was from Madeleine Albright. I've seen her in person. Talk about a Muppet. Who cares about hundreds of thousands of more Iraqis who have been killed in the Persian Gulf and the Iraq War? It seems to me that lots of people, including church ministers, public principals, and school teachers, and sports announcers, profusely thank the U.S. government for protecting our rights and freedoms by killing all those Iraqis. Notwithstanding the fact that Iraq never attacked the United States and tried to take away our rights and freedoms. Who cares about the multitudes of people whom U.S. forces have killed in Afghanistan, 99% of whom had nothing to do with the 9/11 attacks? That includes the many wedding parties that have suffered the brunt of U.S. missiles, killing brides, grooms, flower girls, bridesmaids, parents, and others. None of them had anything to do with the 9/11 attacks. Who cares about the many people who have been killed as part of the Pentagon's and CIA's formal assassination program? Those assassinations continue on a regular basis, and there is barely a peep of protest. Most everyone just keeps blindly thanking them for their service. Absolutely. Thank you for your service. God bless the empire. All hail to the New World Order. But that's exceptional, right? Absolutely. Who cares about the many people in Iraq and Afghanistan who are killed by suicide bombers on a regular basis as a result of the chaos produced by the U.S. invasions of both countries? I recommend everyone to please read Blowback by Chalmers Johansson. How the CIA sticks in everyone's affairs. It backfires on them, all right? Very few Americans are. There is a reason for that. The people who are being killed over there are not Americans. They are foreigners. If an ambush succeeded in killing 2,000 U.S. troops in the Middle East or Afghanistan, Americans would suddenly care. They might even start demanding to end to the federal government's killing spree abroad. Since only foreigners who are being killed, the idea has always been that Americans need not to concern themselves with what the U.S. national security establishment, i.e. the Pentagon and the CIA, doing abroad. The idea has always been that so long as all the death and destruction is over there would be no impact here at home. Just by giving them more money and let them do whatever they want over there, killing as many people as they want. The problem, however, arises when a person's mindset is a bit off kilter, perhaps for having been subjected to 12 long years in government schools, as this week's killer was. The type of person may not be able to distinguish between foreigners and Americans. His mind might cause him to think about everyone as just people, independent of nationalities. In his off-kilter mind, since it is no big deal for the U.S. government to kill people abroad, it shouldn't be any big deal for him to kill people here at home. Therefore, in his mindset, killing 17 American students is really no different in principle from killing 17 Iraqi children or 17 members of an Afghan wedding party or wiping out every North Korean family with nuclear fire and fury. For him, in his off-kilter mind, it all might be the same. That's what too many Americans simply don't want to confront. That the U.S. government's interventionist death machine in its 16 years of forever wars really had an impact on America after all, not just in terms of out-of-control spending and debt that is spending our nation to bankruptcy, and not just by terrorist retaliatory blowback, but also by inducing those with off-kilter minds here at home to engage in the same type of killing spree that the Pentagon and CIA have engaged and continue to engage in over there. After all, consider Switzerland, where every family is armed to the teeth. They have public schooling there too, just like here, undoubtedly producing at least a few off-kilter people. But they don't have the mass killings that are found here in the United States. The difference, the Swiss government is not killing people in Afghanistan, Iraq, Syria, Libya, Africa, Yemen, and elsewhere. It doesn't defend the country by going abroad and killing people. It defends the country by staying at home. Americans need to ask themselves with some important questions. Are these forever wars really worth it? Are all those foreign military bases really worth it? Is foreign intervention really worth it? Are assassinations, torture, and indefinite detention really worth it? Indeed, is totalitarian, Cold War era, national security state governmental apparatus really worth it? That's what every American citizen, whether you're naturalized or born, have to let that sink in. Why? Because the fact is this, my friends. I was against the war on terror for a very damn long time, and I started learning about imperialism little by little. Then I would question it more and take the initiative and do my homework as well. And I say, to hell with this stuff, to hell with foreign interventionism. And I see these hotshot politicians want to get us involved in these wars. You know what? You throw their rear ends in the front line. Let's see how tough these madams and gentlemen are. Most of them are weak and pathetic and have dishpan hands. They're a bunch of Palmolive as far as I'm concerned. I'm tired of seeing people worry about some of the stuff. Don't get me wrong, it's horrific, but they should focus on the bigger picture. Drone strikes and all that. That should be a big uprising. So if you guys going to be protests on this, what happened in Parkland, in these school shootings here, and actually don't say a word about what's going on overseas, then you're just contradicting yourselves, making yourself look like the hypocrite. And I say that in good faith. Yes, I am very disturbed what happened. Parkland is not far from me at all. I'm just like 25 minutes away, driving. But the truth of the matter is, my friends, we have to stop showing hatred towards others, seeing our tax dollars being extorted on these sons of bitches agenda. The United States is a patsy nation being used by the banksters, by the order. China may be on the next list they're going to be using, or the Greater Israeli Project. Let's talk about that as well, about Israel maybe the next empire. But I'm not going to go Jew bashing because that will be irrelevant. We got to take care of our own affairs. Like I talked about in my last show. Family structure is being decimated. State knows best is contaminating our morality. We got to destroy this Orwellian platform. If you want true peace, security, spiritual prosperity, We got to defy them by all means. We got to do it with love and in good faith. Hopefully, no bloody revolution. And I'm going to be right back. Stay tuned. Okay, do one more here as I make this one pretty short. This just came from floridacarry.org, and it's an open letter to the Florida legislature. Came out on the 16th. An open letter to the Florida legislature, care of Honorable Joseph Negron and Honorable Richard Cochran. As the state of Florida mourns the loss of innocent lives on Wednesday in Broward County, I mourn too, but I'm also angry. I am angry that the Florida legislature has once again enabled an evil individual to take innocent lives because the legislature refuses to acknowledge the fact that the evil people will not follow the law it passes. In the face of overwhelming evidence to the contrary, the legislature acts as if the laws it passes will stop criminals. Laws punishes wrongdoing, do not stop wrongdoers. Yes, yet Florida continues to prohibit licensed law-abiding citizens from possessing the tools to protect themselves and their children from mass murder. Despite the repeated failure of so-called gun-free zones, the Florida legislature has taken those steps over the past 7 years to protect our children, while the responsibility for Wednesday's event rests solely with the actions of the evil people who committed this act. It is a legislator that has enabled such tragedies to occur. It is legislators in action that has made such tragedies worse. The legislature has ignored the repeated requests of Florida Carry and other civil rights groups and the law-abiding citizens of the state to give up the fallacy of gun-free zones. This body has left our children and their teachers defenseless. It has kowtowed to anti-freedom groups. It has blocked or refused to hear common sense legislation to protect our children and the professionals to whom we entrust our children's care on a daily basis. It is a well-established fact from numerous such events that bad people with guns will only stop their carnage when confronted by an armed response. Every second until that response occurs allowed the murderer to kill and maim more innocents. From 1987 until now, every time the legislature has acted to restore the rights of law-abiding citizens to protect those for whom they love and care. Those citizens have responsibility, exercise the trust placed in them. Every time those citizens have proven the claims of the anti-gun forces to be lies. Every time the claims of dire consequences for returning rights to the people have proven false. The case was not a failure of law-abiding citizens to act responsibly. This was another failure of law enforcement to investigate and stop the deranged individual. People did see something and did say something, but law enforcement failed to fully investigate and prosecute the shooter for prior crimes. Just as in Southern Springs, law enforcement failure is being blamed on law-abiding citizens and their legal firearms. Law-abiding citizens cannot rely on law enforcement to protect them and must be given the means to protect themselves. Any questions, my friend? Like I said before, I post this a few times on my show. Florida Statute 768.28, Sovereign Immunity and Tort Liability. All right, and we'll continue on here. This time for half measures and incrementalism is over. It is past time to give we the people, our teachers and parents, volunteering in schools, the ability to defend themselves and stop these tragedies. The time to act is now. For years, and the many legislatures have touted their NRA ratings. They have claimed to be on the side of the law-abiding citizens with licenses who, for over 3 decades, have proved themselves more law-abiding than even the police officers who heroically responded Wednesday. Why then should these same citizens be left defenseless while they await law enforcement response? In every state that has allowed law-abiding citizens to carry in schools, the citizens have proven equal to the challenge. None of these states that have suffered what Florida suffered Wednesday. Those states have eliminated a favorite target of deranged individuals who commit such evil. Florida carry hereby calls on the legislation to immediately, one, pass emergency legislation to eliminate gun-free zones for law-abiding concealed carry licensees. 2, pass legislation authorizing all teachers in public schools who possess a CWFL to carry their license, concealed carry if they so choose without repercussion. 3, to approve immediate funding of $1 million in grants for county school boards and sheriffs to implement pilot programs of the faculty, administrator, safety, and emergency response, or Anchor Faster program in the state of Florida. There's a website on there too, fastersavelives.org. Though the legislators in action enabled Wednesday's event, error of judgment can be corrected if good people are willing to admit they were wrong. It is time for those who support the Second Amendment, who recognize that armed citizens are an asset, and who truly want to protect our children, to recognize and admit that evil will not obey laws. I can use basic rights as well. Article 1, Section 2 of the Florida Constitution, that certain natural-born rights are inalienable. I will continue on here. Evil will not respect gun-free zones. Evil will never be stopped by anything other than armed response. The longer that response, the more innocent lives lost. I am reminded today of teachers at Sandy Hook who died trying to shield children they love from evil. An unarmed person is just another victim. An armed person is a force who can stop the carnage. It is within the legislature's power to make sure that if it happens again, the response will be faster and fewer innocent lives will be lost. As a father of 2 public school children, I cannot wait any longer. I want my children to be safe when they are not with me. I will not rest until the Florida legislature takes action to protect my children and their friends. If it will not be done by those already in the legislature, it will be done by those who replace them. Sincerely, Eric J. Friday, General Counsel on the Florida Carry Inc. and the father of 2. And I gotta say, respectfully, he's correct. The police can't be everywhere. They're not obligated to protect us as individuals, including children in school. Why is that? They're human beings. We all have all these armed guards at banks and politicians. Why not at the public schools? This is why, my friends, I've been saying this for a long time. And I'm not an NRA member, I'm not going to criticize them, but I study facts. I do my homework. I know I'll probably repeat myself from the last show, forgive me. But the fact is this: we got to be the first line of defense when it's necessary. Street poly purebred syndrome has to end. Be the underdog. Don't someone else do it for you. It only works in cartoons, but not in reality. So I was reading some of the news stuff like the New York Post and all that, and some of the mainstream news. They try to get the president, help us, president, you got to solve this problem. Mr. President, you got to solve this problem. No. What are the parents and individuals want to do? And don't get me wrong, there's folks out there are willing to do this. But they're getting shafted, deprived. They say, hey, we know better than you. Trust us. On and on and on. Like a repeat from the last show, 3 mass shootings in a period of 2.5 years. Pulse nightclub, Fort Lauderdale Airport, and Stoneman High School. They all occurred on firearm-free zones. That is in the books. Soft targets. Some folks don't like that. But I'm not here to toot my horn either. It's just one of the examples of what's happening. You have to look at all elements. You can't just go after one thing. Some people think I would go after one thing. So no, you have to look at all elements. Those are just some examples what I talked about earlier on this episode, and so forth. I'm pretty consistent. I try to do the best I can. But we gotta do it for our kids and everyone else we love. We are the first line of defense overall. And I'm a big fan of permits because it does infringe on my basic rights. However, we get that step closer to make it a reality. Constitution carry, natural born rights carry. Can be done. And I'm not saying it won't be perfect, but it'll be a hell of a lot better. When it comes to the government knows best, the state knows best, if you believe that, have that mindset, it's going to bite you in the rear when you least expect it. So pray for those folks out there. Give them a little love, give them passion, and don't scream and yell, argue with each other. Use finesse, share information, because a lot more complex will happen at that school than we know about. Of course, there may be claims of multiple shooters. Hopefully, this is not a Gladio case, another Gladio attack. Hope I'm wrong. I've watched a couple of videos. I put also something like that on there yesterday in the past episode. Now I'm digressing. I apologize for that. All right, my friends, that is it. I thank everyone for listening. Plus, feel free to download and share us throughout your social media network. If you have any questions, comments, or you're sending me something that's interesting me to check out, whatever you do, please send your correspondence with decorum. You keep me on Facebook, Twitter, Google+, Spreaker, iHeartRadio, Tumblr, YouTube, Freedoms Network, Mind.minds.com, FutureNet.club, Patreon.com/LocalUp3 or 3 eyes. For me, a donor, patron, great. I got 0 patrons. Oh, my goodness. That's all right. You hit me on Gab too, gab.ai. In addition, you can get me at email me at localluck3@gmail.com or to cryptic ones, locallucknumbers03@protonmail.com. I'm on my phone, so that's okay. Once again, my friends, thank you for your time. But always remember that the demoniac resistance is healthy for the soul and can liberate humanity. Until next time, take care of yourselves. Keep on spreading love, and may your guardian spirits be with you.